there's a difference between a belief and an isness, right? Truth ages very well. Like, you don't really need to defend it. You don't need to sell it. You don't need to, be on a mission about it. You don't need to convince people. Truth just is.
Right. And it always comes out. I always say, just needs time sometimes.
That's right. She is a patient woman.
And she's a bitch too when she comes out.
Oh, for sure. She'll come and slice your head off, but you'll thank her later. Just maybe not as you're like bleeding out.
I know. Well, you're going through something. Bye.
But so much of that, too, is like, I think this is really good for your listeners because, you do so much about adversity. It's funny because to me, adversity is painful if you're not in approval of what's happening.
Right.
Meaning it's really all how you're relating to it. So there's a practice like in, a lot of what I teach is I teach a lot of surrender and approval and getting in alignment with what's happening. There's a way where the mind really likes to fight what's happening and doesn't want to be in reality. And that's actually what causes the pain. That's what makes adversity, right? Whereas like, really interesting. I actually made a reel about this morning because I was saying that like the savior that sort of arises in people, like that rescuer, like I want to save the world, I want to save myself, I want to save those people, all that stuff is usually triggered by our inability to accept our powerlessness and our grief in certain situations. But what's so interesting is that the same people refuse to acknowledge where they actually are powerful.
Interesting.
Right. So it's like you want to assert power where we don't have any and then not be responsible for the power we do have. And so that's a lot of the work that I do with women is like really coming into a kind of mature adulthood of like being completely responsible for their desires and their communication and their ability to create, right? Because until you are really in that seat of like mature responsibility, you will create things and be victimized by them.
For sure. Yeah.
Because you're like, I didn't create that.
Right.
Like,
but
well,
you did.
But you did.
You did.
That's because women have been conditioned in the patriarchy, right? And so when you condition women in the patriarchy, what you've basically done is condition them to be little girls looking for daddy's approval all the time. And so when you're looking for daddy's approval all the time, you're also going to compete with other women because you have this idea that you need to be the best, right? Whereas like when you really hit, I mean, my community, there's no competition. I've got probably like 1,000 women in my community, and we like the competition doesn't show up because it's not a priority. Like connection over competition, which is really like the feminine energetic, and that is actually where women have their power, is in connection. Men have power in competition. It's like natural. It's like it's all related to testosterone and the physicality of the hormones and whatnot. There's a lot that's actually needed for men in that and their energetics, whereas women, and I'm sorry, I'm really like going pretty binary here. I don't know if that's going to offend anyone, but I just like for women, the connection is a power point as opposed to competition. Yeah. And here's the other thing is that feminism, and I'm a 1978 baby. So I was a headhunter on Wall Street, like, real product of feminism, in fact, grew up with, like career was the thing, and getting pregnant was like the worst thing that could happen to you. Like that. I mean, that is really the conditioning that I grew up with, and it's so fucked up.
Right.
Like it's taken me 10 years to unwind a lot of that. And it's not that I don't